conference is to remind all of Putnam County residents that there is a burn ban in place due to the hazardous dry conditions regionally throughout the area, but specifically to Putnam County. And although we got a little drizzle last night, and you can see some water in the ground this morning, that is not at all what we need to improve the conditions. So it's important that we remind all of our residents about the importance to comply with this executive order for a burn ban countywide. It's temporary until these conditions improve. This is a result of the elevated risk of various forest fires, brush fires, and the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation placing our region under a high fire danger rating. We have already had numerous brush fires throughout the Hudson Valley, but closest to home was the Kent brush fire that began on Tuesday, October 22nd, and over the course of several days, expanded from 1 to 5 acres, and then ultimately over the weekend, 33 acres over, I believe, on Sunday into Monday. But thanks to the brave men and women of our local fire departments, our numerous volunteer agencies, specifically the Kent Volunteer Fire Department, where this was located, they are able to contain and control the brush fire. We had well over 10 different agencies respond, and I certainly want to thank all of them who took the lead in fighting this fire. I also want to make sure I recognize the various officials that are here today. We have our Putnam County Sheriff, Kevin McConville. We have leaders in town government, Supervisor Michael Pizzeri, Supervisor David McGlasson from both Carmel and Kent, respectively. Our Kent Highway Department, Richie Othmer, also happens to be a retired D1 firefighter, and our DPW Commissioner, Tommy Fury. I wanted to make a special mention of them because both DPW and the Kent Highway Department specifically assisted the first responders in controlling the fire by building a fire line to contain this and expand it further. We also have, obviously, our Chief of the Kent Fire Department, Matt Valente, our Commissioner for Bureau of Emergency Services, Bob Lifton, and I want to thank our friends from the Kent Fire Department and all the first responders. Now, as part of the state of emergency I issued earlier this week, it included a burn ban across Putnam County. That means that the ban encompasses all open burning. It includes campfires, brush burning, debris fires. They are temporarily prohibited until the executive order is lifted, and this is an essential step to prevent more brush fires from starting. Before we talk more about the ban and potential enforcement, I want to make an opportunity to introduce Commissioner Bob Lifton of the Putnam County Bureau of Emergency Services to discuss the actual timeline of the events and recognize those that responded to the fire this past weekend. Commissioner Lifton?
Thank you, County Executive Brian. I just want to give you a brief overview of timeline of how this whole event unfolded. On Tuesday, October 22nd, was the first report of a small brush fire up on Golf Ridge Road in the town of Kent. About 6 p.m. at night, where the Kent Fire Department responded out and started dealing with the first of many days active out in the scene. The fire only started at 0.2 acres, but by the next day, it had already spread to 1 acre, where once again the fire departments were called out, extinguishing what they considered to be a small fire. By the third day, it had spread now to 5 acres, covering most of the top of the mountain. Over the weekend, it had jumped to almost 10 acres, and at that point on Saturday evening, we had decided to not go in during the evening and fight the fire, but get all the troops together and attack the fire first thing Sunday morning. And on Sunday morning, our first response there, it had now jumped to 23 acres, and it was a very large brush fire. With the thanks of all of the fire departments that showed up for all of the days that we were there. Like County Executive said, we had 10 fire departments. We had fire departments covering for the Kent Fire Department. We had much help from Putnam County DPW, and alongside with them was the Kent Highway Department On Sunday, we were able to dig fire trenches and fire lines surrounding the fire, and finally had a good solid fire line to keep it under control. And then by Monday morning, we were able to get it under control. And with the final acreage being around 33 acres that had burned. The important thing to remember here is that what had happened is the fire had gone underground. The leaves that had fallen over the last couple of years presented a large area of peat underground. We were digging into about 6 to 8 inches of underground leaves. It had gotten into the roots and spread through the root systems of the surrounding forest. Which also leads me to the thing, once again, what County Executive Byrne was saying, is that the rain that we got the last day and a half was not enough to change the situation, anything from what we already have. We have very dry conditions out there. A lot of leaves have come down, a lot of dry woods. So the burn ban is extremely important, even though we did get maybe a day and a half of very light rain. It is still not enough to stop fires from breaking out. And with that, I want to pass it back to the county executive. Thank you. Have a very good Halloween, but please do not burn.
Sure. With that, I also want to introduce our town supervisor for the town of Kent, Jamie Nicholas.
So it's considered ready, but I just want to extend our gratitude to the Lake Carmel Fire Department, the Kent Fire Department, our police department, our dispatchers, and our neighboring towns that all came in to help us to put this under control and to make sure that none of our residents were in danger. So I extend my gratitude to everyone. Thank you, and please don't burn anything.
Thank you, Supervisor. And all these things that we do, when we do the executive order, does require collaboration with other partners in town government. And we very much appreciate that, so we have a uniform response and message to the Putnam County residents. Our chief of the Kent Fire Department, the Kent Volunteer Fire Department, Chief Willingsy. I want to use this time just to thank our regional aid departments, everyone that helped, our fire departments, EMS agencies, our town, DPW's highway departments, as well as the area businesses that donated to us to assist with our crews with things like replenishments, waters, snacks, granola bars, stuff like that. I also want to add, in addition to the hard work these crews did, it was extremely hard for them due to the terrain. It was very rocky, so we were digging down to about 6 inches, and it was all rock. So they were using hand tools, and a big shout out to the county DPW, the Kent Highway Department, who brought investigators into the woods where honestly I didn't even think they would be able to get it. They got it very high up there and were able to move rocks, did a huge line for us, which eased the burden on all the first responders. Again, like everyone was saying, it's not enough rain. We were talking to the New York State DC Forest Rangers. They're saying we need inches of rain, 3 to 4 inches of rain, just enough to bring the soil to where it's damp enough to where it's not going to spread. And chicken. It's been mentioned before, our DPW Commissioner Tommy Fury and Kent Highway Superintendent Schaffner. You can share anything about your experience in the fire department.
Saturday night, I got a call from DPW Commissioner Tom Fury, immediately followed by Bob Lipton, and they told me about the fire and can we get some men and equipment out there. So I called my supervisor, Jamie McGlasson, and she told me to do whatever we have to do, get the guys out there. So we went out and I was put under control of the county DPW, and I got to give the Kent Fire Department an attaboy too, when I get in trouble. They did a great job. They had it really organized, and the chain of command, everything was fluid, and it worked out well. So
same, not to be redundant, but the fire departments did a great job. Obviously, they were there for 4 or 5 days before we got there. So, you know, and we're just grateful that our relationship between the highway departments and DPWs are fantastic and fun. And we're here for support. We're not the firefighters. We like the conditions, so it's all good.
All right, thanks, guys. I mentioned before, I signed the executive order on Monday. It lasts 5 days unless we extend it. It's enforced as the enforcement of law. And enforcement is very important. And I want to recognize our Putnam County Sheriff.
Good morning. This is simply a matter of public safety. Don't burn. Please keep yourself, your neighbors, and your community safe. We hope that we don't have to employ the enforcement aspect of this executive order, but we are prepared to do so. We are working with fire departments, DPWs from the county and the various towns, as well as their town supervisors to keep you and your community safe. You can do so too. Don't burn. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheriff. With that, I do want to remind, I'll ask if there's any other officials that want to share a few words. Supervisor? Okay. I'll just remind folks too that the ban is on burning, but there's also something we like to refer to as common sense in dry conditions. For those smokers out there, don't flick your butt out the car window into dry conditions, please. I know tomorrow is Halloween and there's going to be a lot of fun-filled activities, but if you're going to spend some time in the evening with your family in your backyard, now is not the time to have a campfire. Just hold off. The conditions don't merit it. That's why this is in place. That's why we're sharing this with you again as a polite reminder. There is enforcement. It is a punishable offense if you violate the executive order. We're obviously going to work with everybody, try to just give the awareness as to what's in place and why. And it's for your safety, the safety of our neighbors and of the entire county. So thank you for complying and thank you for your attention to this important message.